Thank you, Madam Chair, for calling the important hearing, and thanks to Congressman Donalds for urging us to call the hearing and for his assistance in putting it together. On January 31 and February 1 of this year, at the beginning of Black History Month, 24 historically black colleges and universities received threats that bombs were going to explode on campus. Since the beginning of the year, at least 36 HBCUs have received 54 different bomb threats. On Tuesday of this week, Morehouse, the famous college in Atlanta, received a bomb threat, causing students to have to shelter in place. The perpetrators behind these acts obviously are targeting black colleges and universities, seeking to disrupt and terrorize the students, the faculty, the staff, and all of their families. No other colleges or universities have been targeted and disrupted in the same fashion. The FBI announced that the threats made on February 1 are being investigated as racially or ethnically motivated violent extremism and hate crimes. No arrests have yet been made, but we can assume at least some of the threats were animated by hatred of black Americans and the deliberate intent to terrorize them. For example, Bethune-Cookman University in Florida got a 20-minute threatening call from a person stating that they were a member of the Atomwaffen Division, a right-wing extremist and neo-Nazi terrorist network, and had planted multiple bombs around the university and were orchestrating an active shooter. Howard University, which is, of course, just minutes from where we sit, has received 4 different bomb threats this year alone, something which I'm sure has terrified not just the students and faculty and staff, but their families, given the fact that we saw here in Washington at the Capitol itself, shocking white nationalist-led violence that engulfed the Capitol on January 6th of last year and ended up not just in multiple deaths, but in 150 of our police officers being injured, wounded, and hospitalized with broken necks, jaws, vertebrae, lost fingers, traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress syndrome, and so on. The violent threats against the HBCUs are a trend, or part of a trend, of rising hate crimes against African Americans. Between 2019 and 2020, there was a nearly 50% increase in hate crimes committed against black people in the country. Now there are spiking threats against what have traditionally been safe spaces for African Americans in the country. We can be thankful that none of these threats have yet materialized in a bomb exploding on campus like the ones we saw at Florida A&M in 1999, but that, of course, does not diminish the emotional and psychological trauma inflicted on students and the disruption to university life. I very much appreciate that the FBI has deemed its active investigation of these bomb threats the highest priority as the investigation unfolds. I know the FBI cannot answer questions about the status of specific cases, but I would like to know how the FBI is coordinating with the HBUs and communities of color to address the rise in hate crimes across the country. I look forward to hearing answers from the FBI as well as from our witnesses from the Department of Education and Homeland Security as to how they are working to ensure the safety and security of our students. Most importantly, I want to thank the student leaders who are testifying before us today, Kylie Burke of Howard, Emmanuel Ucott of Xavier University in New Orleans, and Devin Vilfrard of Florida A&M. We recognize how tough these past few years have been between COVID and now these bomb threats to these formative and critical years in your young lives. We appreciate your strength, your resiliency, and your leadership that you've been showing throughout this crisis. Madam Chair, I yield back to you.